Hey, what's up? I'm remaking my Kickstarter video because it kind of sucked. So, let's talk about the islands of purple haunted putrescence. Because that is the module that I am currently working on and trying to fund using Kickstarter. So I'm going to make this video short and sweet. Don't want to waste a lot of your time. It's compatible with every D&D-esque, my own term, role-playing game, rules and system out there. This is my game table. Just gonna scan it quickly. Oh, there's some role-playing game books there too, which is kind of cool. And oh, Liberation of the Demon Slayer. That's module number 1 that I wrote. Ta-da! Lots of cool stuff in here. Some campaign guide, rule option stuff, and a lot of dungeon levels. Maps by Dyson, a lot of great artwork by a variety of artists like Paul Allen, who's going to be doing most of the arts for the islands. Let's see what else. I'm already floundering. Video's not my best medium. I'm more of a writer, which is why I write. So anyway, yeah, it's compatible with, it's old school Renaissance, compatible with, there's probably a dozen clones, retro compatible games. Anything that was originally based off, the 1974 fantasy role-playing game, or a variation to that will be compatible with this, because it's going to have armor class and hit dice and all that good stuff. Even though it doesn't have the rules, bloat, I believe that's what it's called, or how some people describe it, of like 3rd edition, 4th edition Pathfinder, stuff like that. I hope that those people, those gamers, game masters, will be interested enough to take a look and check this out and, run it when it's out and, help support the Kickstarter here. A lot of my influences that would be used in this module in particular, and just things that influence my writing and my role-playing game playing, are vintage Doctor Who, the show Lost, which will factor in heavily with this, Land of the Lost, great, fantastic show, heavy metal, yeah, these are always crooked after I shower. I just showered. Yeah, the early 80s heavy metal movie. Quatermass in the Pits, that's a big influence of mine. Prince of Darkness, I'm going to take some things from ancient Rome and different periods of history, medieval history, movie Beastmaster. H.P. Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith, Robert E. Howard, other sword and sorcery authors that I hope to read between now and the summer. Let's talk briefly about the co-GM thing. I'd like to expand it just a little bit, not just on the Islands module, but really any book that Corthalis Publishing puts out. That means Liberation of the Demon Slayer, that means the Baleful Sorcerer of Setheg Ka, and any in the future. If you up your pledge or do the reward thing, whatever, for the co-GM, it's not like, I'm going to be there for you with advice and encouragement and brainstorming ideas, and it's not like you need help game mastering, the adventure. You won't. If you can read, and if you've ever game mastered anything before, this should also be a cakewalk. But sometimes you want some extra support. You want someone else to throw ideas out, someone who's been there and done that, and maybe can anticipate some pitfalls, or let's say you've already run it once pretty successfully and you want to do it again with maybe a different group, or maybe the same group with different characters and you want to do it in a different way. Well, I can help change things around, and maybe I'll give you some ideas of things that I thought of but I changed at the last minute, but it would also be very cool and workable. So I'll do that with any book. I love to talk about gaming in general, specifically the things that I work on, and that I'm passionate about. So I don't know. I think that's a win-win for everybody. It's not like, you know, you need a sidekick GM or a crutch or something like that. It's not like that. It's, you know, I want to be there to support you and to encourage you. If you need a confidant, you know, if you just want to vent and bitch about things that happened during, you know, a liberation of the Demon Slayer game or the Islands game or whatever, you know, I'm there for you. What else? So there's if you've read it the first couple days, like the whole Kickstarter thing, reread it, because I added some stuff. There's some frequently asked question stuff down at the bottom where I give like little teaser content. There's a lot of things I would love to tell you about, but I kind of want to keep them secret for obvious reasons. I don't want to blab about, oh my god, there's this and there's this, and then your players get there and they remember like, oh yeah, I heard Venger talking about this, and yeah, some of the surprise is ruined. So it's a lot of cool stuff. I've got like pages and pages of like notes and outline roughed in things. Quickly, let's talk about the backstory vignette. I think that's a great way to provide a little backstory, you know, if you're familiar with Liberation, then you know that there's a dark secret table. That's pretty passive, pretty static. You roll, you know, this little 1-2 sentences has happened to your character sometime in the past. You know, it's a secret of his. It's, like I said, part of his past. It's dark. The backstories are different because they involve role playing, and it's not static and it's not passive. In fact, it's active and it's fluid. You know, I give you you roll, and then the GM, myself or you, gives the player a little bit of background on like, oh, like just for example, deal with some sort of demon lord went sour, and you know he grips you by your neck, lifts you off the ground, and says, you know, why shouldn't I kill you now? And then the character has to react to that. They have to role play their way out of it, and that little role playing vignette. That becomes a part of their backstory, and that influences, you know, part of their character. I mean, you wouldn't think like, oh, because it doesn't have a mechanical factor, it doesn't give you a +1 to this. You might think like, oh, who gives a shit? But players and characters and everyone around the table and the GM remembers that, and it sticks with them. It influences how they play their character from then on. So it's an important thing. It's kind of a cool little added bonus. Those are going to be in the adventure. One last thing. This, which I created. Use wood burner and stain, blah, blah, blah. Okay, trying to get this done quickly. So you can take your dice. Occasionally you want to roll it on here. And let's say you roll it, like, and it doesn't land on a symbol, then nothing happens. But let's say you roll it, ta-da, it lands on this symbol. Well, there's a special guide I have that will tell you what this means. It'll be very generic. Specific, but generic. So, let's say that little rune or sigil means like sorcery or fortune or death or ruin or, you know, something a little more specific. If it rolls a certain number or a certain color die or a certain type of die, like a D8 or a D6, you know, maybe you can make means it will, depending on the chart that I give you as well. It'll mean something specific, like assassination or poison or you know, there's some sort of fire component with a spell, or there's a weird variety of things. This really alters the game and changes things up. I hope you'll agree that it's kind of a beautiful piece. So yeah, I think that's it. Hopefully this video went better. Hopefully you helped me with this dream. Yeah, if you have any questions, please ask. All right. Ja, Cthulhu Vertagen.